Genesis Rocks here, and I'm back with another pickups video for last month, and I've got about 20-25 games to go through, so I thought I'd get rolling. So let's start. What should we start with? Let's start with the original Xbox. I went to a garage sale, and this guy was blowing out a ton of really cool Xbox games and some kind of weird ones. So first one I got was Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and I played this back in the day on the PlayStation 2. Thought it was pretty cool. I'm a big Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan, and so I thought it was time to pick this up on the Xbox. Here's a game that I don't know anything about. He had it in a stack, and it cost like $1, and so I figured I'd check it out. It's called New Legends, and looks like kind of a brawler, maybe beat 'em up. Looks kind of cheap, but kind of interesting. Next up is another game I hadn't heard of for the original Xbox, which is called Shattered Union. And basically this looks like a real-time strategy game. And looks like it's post-apocalyptic. It's a 2K game. I have no idea if this is good or bad. Probably bad. Didn't pay a lot for it. So, game I've been looking to pick up for a while now was Full Spectrum Warrior. And I've heard good things about this. It's supposed to be fairly realistic. It's made by Pandemic, which I believe made the Mercenary games, and also Destroy All Humans and stuff like that. Here's a game that I did a review for, and I was really looking forward to. It was called Star Wars Republic Commandos. And I love Star Wars games when they're well made. And this is a first-person shooter that has some tactical elements to it, and it's pretty cool actually. I really enjoyed it, played all the way to the end, and that was a great little find. And then finally, not a rare game by any means, but Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. This is one of my favorite Grand Theft Auto games. Actually, my all-time favorite game is Vice City, but I like San Andreas for just the open worldness of it, the fact that it's, it feels like it's an entire state with 3 different cities in it, and I didn't have this in my collection, so I wanted to add it, and now I have it for the Xbox. Pretty cool. Speaking of Xbox, I did pick up some Xbox 360 games, and the first one is Singularity, and it came out in August. And this game is actually really cool. I just finished it last night. It reminds me of BioShock in that the levels are really dense. You do a lot of sort of searching, but more importantly, it's got an RPG element to it where you upgrade your time powers and also your abilities and stuff like that. So I was actually pleasantly surprised by Singularity. I think if you are a fan of BioShock, this is a great game for it, for your Xbox. Next up was a game that wasn't sure if I owned it or not, but it was only $2, and so it's Rainbow Six Vegas. And sure enough, I'd actually played some of it because I remembered the very first level, but for some reason I didn't have it in my collection. I may have borrowed it. But, for $2, it's like, why not add it to the collection, Next up for the Sega Genesis, I got this really weird game called Zero Tolerance. Zero Tolerance is one of the first 3D first-person shooters. And I was kind of surprised by this game. It's not great. I played it a little bit, but it is pretty impressive that they actually do a real 3D, engine on the Sega Genesis. So that was kind of a fun little find. Next up is Dungeons and Dragons: Warriors of the Eternal Sun. And love me some old school RPG action, and I thought this might be kind of fun. Here's some loose carts. I got Thunder Force 2, which is a top-down shoot-'em-up. Next up is Castle of Illusion, starring Mickey Mouse. Asterix and the Great Rescue. Don't know anything about that game, but I can't wait to try it out. And finally, for the Genesis, I picked up Fatal Labyrinth. And this is another old school RPG, very basic. Actually spent quite a bit of time playing it when I popped it in. It's got sort of weird controls, so it took me a while to kind of figure it out. And it seems like it's randomly generated dungeons, but for an old school RPG, it's kind of cool. Next up for the NES, I picked up 2 games. I didn't own the original Metroid. Figured, well, this was sitting at a garage sale. needed to own it. I'm actually looking for Super Metroid for the NES. So that's on my list of things to try to find. Although my all-time favorite Metroid game, if you're curious, is Metroid Zero Mission on the Game Boy Advance. Love that game. Next up is a game that I played years and years ago, Dragon Warrior. Very common game, and every time I'm out at a garage sale, I can never remember which Dragon Warrior games I need, and I'm actually looking for Dragon Warrior 3 and 4, so I'm going to be on the lookout for that. Next up, for the Nintendo 64, I found a copy of Shadow of the Empire, Star Wars, another Star Wars game here. Always a good to have. Heard lots of good things about that. I haven't played it yet. A game I've been looking for a long time, Paper Mario. And I love the Thousand Year Door on the GameCube. And I haven't played this game. I'm really looking forward to it because the Paper Mario games are awesome. They're actually some of my favorite Mario games. Next up is Bio Freaks. And this looks like a 3D fighting game sort of thing. I don't really know much about it. It was just, in a box somewhere, and got it for fairly cheap. And then finally another classic for the Nintendo 64, which is Star Fox 64. I got the NES version a couple months back, and so now I have the Nintendo 64 version. Pretty cool. Can't wait to dig into this. Also want to show you that I picked up recently at a bookstore is Retro Micro Games Action. This is a compilation from Games, which is a UK magazine, and this is a really cool magazine. And it looks like it's a compilation of maybe about a year's worth of issues that they just sort of threw into here. And if you're into retro gaming, the Retro magazine from Games and then also Retro Gamer are excellent magazines to start collecting, sort of reading about everything that is sort of retro, from consoles to PCs. There's just a little of everything in here. And this has been a lot of fun to read. And then finally, for the iPad, I got 3 new games, and I want to talk about that a little bit because I know some of my viewers watch this show for iPad games. And the first one I got, which is fantastic, is from Squaresoft, or Square Enix, I guess. It's called Chaos Rings, and essentially it is a full-blown Final Fantasy type RPG, turn-based RPG for the iPad. And they have 2 versions, and they just released the iPad version in HD, and it looks fantastic, and it's the full-on experience. It's actually pretty cool. It's kind of an expensive game. I think it was $13 or $14 for the App Store. That's a lot, but it's really high quality. If you're into that sort of game, that's not too much to pay for a video game in my opinion, so you should definitely check it out. Next up, 2 games I got kind of on sale, and that's Jim Cameron's Avatar, which was only 99 cents in the App Store. And this is a really, really nice looking game, and it controls really well, and it's actually a lot of fun. There's a lot to do in it. Haven't got too far into it, but it seems like, for $1, it seems like it's a really good deal. And then next up is a game that I got recently for only 99 cents, and that is Zombie Infection. And basically that's a kind of a rip-off or homage to Resident Evil, and it's made by Gameloft. 99 cents. It is very much like Resident Evil. Feels like it. It looks like it. Still got kind of the over-the-top story and stuff like that. The controls aren't great on it, but I played through many hours of it so far, and for 99 cents, man, you just can't beat it. And actually, I should mention that if you own an iPad or even an iPhone, there are some websites that I visit almost every day, because the thing about the App Store, if you don't know, is that the developer can set the price, and often games will start maybe at $5 or $10, but they'll often drop them, sometimes even just for a weekend, just to drum up some sales and get some reviews. And so there are sites out on the internet that track this stuff, and you can basically go to and see what's on sale. So for instance, those 2 99-cent games, that's what I did. The first one is toucharcade.com, and again, it covers both the iPhone and the iPad. And then also appspy.com, and I'll put those in the notes below this video. But if you have an Apple device like that and you are interested in buying games, those two websites are killer for that, because essentially what you can do is just sort of look and see which highly rated games are on there and what their price is, and so they trend it, and you know, if a game is well reviewed and it's 99 cents, chances are I'm probably going to buy it. So anyways, that's my pickups for this month. I hope you enjoy it, and I want to thank you for subscribing, and thanks for watching. Take care.